My early life was not a fairy tale. It was a nightmare. I grew up in a house filled with fear. My father was the source of that fear. He was a monster in my eyes. His hands brought pain, not comfort. His words cut deeper than any knife. Every day was a battle for survival. I learned to be invisible. I learned to hide. But you can't hide from the darkness inside your own home. It seeps into everything. It becomes a part of you. The abuse was constant. It was physical. It was mental. It was a relentless storm that never seemed to end. I saw my mother suffer. I suffered alongside her. We were trapped in a cycle of torment. School was no escape either. I was different. I struggled to learn. The words on the page were a jumbled mess. The teachers didn't understand. The kids were cruel. I carried the shame of my home life with me. It was a heavy burden for a young kid. A burden no child should ever have to bear. Imagine living with a constant knot in your stomach. That was my reality. Sleep offered little peace. Nightmares often visited. They replayed the horrors of the day. Waking up was just returning to the battlefield. There was no safe space, no sanctuary, just the crushing weight of a childhood stolen. I learned to expect pain. I learned to anticipate the next blow. This kind of upbringing changes you. It molds you in ways you don't realize until much later. It builds walls around your heart. This was my foundation, a foundation built on fear, violence, and insecurity. It's hard to build a strong house on a weak foundation. My start was more than weak. It was shattered. I was a broken kid, lost in a world that felt cold and unforgiving. The lessons I learned were harsh. Trust no one. Expect the worst. Protect yourself at all costs. These were the survival tactics, but they weren't tools for living a full life. They were chains. Chains I would have to break. The abuse didn't just leave bruises on my skin. It left deep scars on my soul. These were the wounds no one could see, but I felt them every single day. Depression became my constant companion. It was a heavy, dark cloud that followed me everywhere. It whispered lies in my ear. It told me I was worthless. It told me I would never amount to anything. And for a long time, I believed those lies. Why wouldn't I? My life had shown me nothing else. This inner turmoil manifested outwardly. I found comfort in food. It was the one thing that didn't judge me. It was a temporary escape, but it came with a price. I became overweight, severely overweight, tipping the scales at nearly 300 pounds. This added another layer to my suffering. I hated the way I looked. I hated the way I felt. My body became another prison, another source of shame. I was trapped in a cycle of self-loathing and self-destruction. It was a dark, lonely place. My self-esteem was non-existent. How could I value myself when no one else seemed to? The world had shown me cruelty. It had shown me indifference. I internalized all that negativity. I believed I deserved the bad things that happened to me. This mindset is poison. It eats away at your spirit. It paralyzes you. It keeps you stuck in the mud. I was stuck, deeply stuck, with no idea how to get out. The future looked bleak, just an extension of the painful past. The fear from my childhood lingered. It shaped my interactions with the world. I was anxious. I was insecure. I stuttered when I spoke. I avoided eye contact. I tried to make myself small, to disappear. Because when you're visible, you're a target. That's what my early life taught me. So I built walls, thick, high walls around myself, to keep the pain out. But those same walls also kept any good from getting in. I was isolated, alone with my demons, and they were winning. One day, something shifted. It wasn't a lightning bolt. It wasn't a divine revelation. It was a moment of brutal honesty. I looked in the mirror. I really looked, and I didn't like what I saw. I saw a broken man, a fat, defeated man, a man haunted by his past, a man with no future. And in that moment, a spark ignited, a tiny spark of defiance. I was sick of being sick. I was tired of being tired. I was done being a victim. This wasn't the first time I'd felt despair, but this time, something else was there too. Anger. Not the destructive anger of my father, but a different kind of anger. An anger directed at my own complacency. An anger at the life I was passively accepting. I realized that if anything was going to change, I had to be the one to change it. No one was coming to save me. No magic wand was going to fix my life. The responsibility was mine, and mine alone. It was a terrifying thought, but also strangely empowering. The reflection staring back at me was a stranger, someone I didn't want to be. I saw the pain in his eyes. I saw the fear. I saw the years of abuse and neglect. But for the first time, I also saw a flicker of something else. A question. What if? What if I could change? What if I could fight back? Not against others, but against myself, against the weaknesses that held me captive. The idea was terrifying. It seemed impossible. But the alternative, staying as I was even more terrifying. That mirror became my accountability partner. It didn't lie. It showed me the raw, unfiltered truth. And the truth was ugly. But it was also a starting point. I decided then and there that I would stop running from myself. I would stop making excuses. I would stop blaming my past. My past was a fact. It happened. But it didn't have to dictate my future. I had a choice. I could remain broken, or I could try to rebuild. I chose to try, even though I had no idea how. The decision to change was one thing. The execution was another beast entirely. I knew I had to lose weight, a lot of weight. I wanted to join the military, specifically the Navy SEALs. People laughed. They said I was crazy. They said it was impossible. I was nearly 300 pounds. I could barely run a quarter mile. The standards for SEALs were astronomical, and I was at rock bottom. But their doubt fueled me. Their laughter became my motivation. I would prove them wrong. More importantly, I would prove myself wrong. My new life started with pain. Excruciating pain. I forced myself to run. My lungs burned. My joints screamed. Every step was agony. I wanted to quit 1,000 times a day. The old voices in my head told me I couldn't do it, that I was still that weak, scared kid. But a new voice started to emerge. A quieter voice, but a persistent one. It told me to keep going. One more step. One more minute. I learned to embrace the suck, to find comfort in discomfort, because I knew that on the other side of pain was progress. Discipline became my new religion. I woke up early, before the sun, while the world was still asleep. I worked out, I studied, I pushed myself harder than I ever thought possible. There were no shortcuts, no easy days, just relentless, grinding work. I changed my diet. No more junk food, no more excuses. I was reprogramming my mind and my body. It was a brutal process. There were days I failed, days I wanted to give up, but I always got back up. I always started again. That's the key. Consistency. The weight started to come off, slowly at first, then more rapidly. With every pound I shed, I gained a little more confidence, a little more self-respect. I was no longer just reacting to life. I was actively shaping it. I was taking control. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, I felt a sense of hope. A sense that maybe, just maybe, I could actually do this. I was learning to callous my mind, to build an inner strength that could withstand any storm. The pain was my teacher, and I was finally starting to learn its lessons. Section 5. Forged in Fire. Becoming a Navy SEAL. Getting into the Navy was one hurdle. Surviving basic underwater demolition SEAL training, BUDDIS, was another universe of pain. They call it Hell Week for a reason. It's designed to break you, to find your limits and then push you far beyond them. Sleep deprivation, non-stop physical exertion, freezing cold water, mental torture. It's a crucible. It burns away everything but your core. It exposes who you truly are when everything is stripped away. Many quit. Most quit. The instructors want you to quit. I went through Hell Week 3 times, not because I'm a masochist, but because I refused to be defeated. The first time I got pneumonia, the second time a stress fracture. My body was breaking down, but my will was not. Each failure was a lesson. Each setback fueled my resolve. I learned to compartmentalize pain, to focus on the task at hand, one evolution at a time, one moment at a time. I wasn't the most talented, I wasn't the strongest, but I was the most stubborn. I would not let my past define my limits. The instructors try to get in your head. They tell you you're not good enough, that you should quit, that you're a failure. It's a mental game as much as a physical one. And my past had given me plenty of ammunition for self-doubt. But I had started to build a new narrative. I had started to believe in my own ability to endure. I used their taunts as fuel. I used the memory of my past suffering as a reminder of what I had already overcome. This was hard. But my childhood was harder. I had survived that. I could survive this. Finally, I made it. I earned my trident. I became a Navy SEAL. It was one of the proudest moments of my life, not just because of the achievement itself, but because of what it represented. It was proof that I could overcome incredible odds, proof that I could rewrite my story, proof that the broken kid from a nightmare childhood could become one of the most elite warriors on the planet. It wasn't about being a badass. It was about conquering myself, my fears, my insecurities, my perceived limitations. That victory was everything. Section 6. Beyond Limits. The Call of the Ultramarathon. After the SEALs, I needed a new challenge, something to push me, something to test my limits again. I found it in ultramarathons. These aren't your typical 26.2-mile races. These are grueling tests of endurance. 50 miles, 100 miles, sometimes even longer, through brutal terrain, in extreme weather conditions, for hours, sometimes days on end. Most people think it's insane, and maybe it is. But for me, it was a new way to explore the boundaries of human potential. My potential. My first ultramarathon was the Badwater 135. It's known as the world's toughest foot race. 135 miles through Death Valley in the middle of summer? Temperatures soar above 120 degrees Fahrenheit. I had never run an ultra before. I hadn't even run a marathon. I entered on a whim to raise money for fallen comrades. I had no proper training, no real idea what I was getting into. It was pure, unadulterated suffering. My body broke down, my feet were shredded, I hallucinated, but I finished. Why put myself through such agony? Because in those moments of extreme suffering, you find out who you really are. When you're stripped bare, when every part of you is screaming to stop, that's when your true character is revealed. It's not about the finish line, it's about the journey. It's about the struggle. It's about pushing yourself to a place you never thought you could go, and then going further. It's about building mental toughness, callousing your mind, so that when life throws its inevitable punches, you can take them and keep moving forward. Ultramarathons became my new laboratory, a place to test my theories about pain, discipline, and resilience. I learned that the human body is capable of so much more than we think. Our minds give up long before our bodies do. We have reservoirs of strength we haven't even begun to tap into. These races taught me how to access that strength, how to quiet the voice of doubt, how to keep putting one foot in front of the other, even when it feels impossible. It's a powerful lesson, a lesson that applies to every aspect of life. Section 7. The 40% Rule, Unlocking Hidden Strength. Through my experiences in the SEALs and ultramarathons, I developed a concept I call the 40% Rule. It's simple. When your mind is telling you that you're done, that you're exhausted, that you cannot possibly go any further, you're actually only at 40% of your true potential. Your mind is designed to protect you, to keep you safe, to conserve energy. So it sends signals of distress long before you're truly at your limit. Most people listen to those signals. They stop, they give up. But what if you didn't stop? What if you pushed past that initial feeling of exhaustion? What if you challenged that voice in your head telling you to quit? That's where the other 60% lies. That's where the real growth happens. It's uncomfortable, it's painful, but it's also where you discover what you're truly made of. I learned to recognize that feeling of wanting to quit not as a stopping point but as a starting point, a signal that I was about to tap into a new level of strength. This isn't just about physical endurance. The 40% rule applies to everything. Studying for an exam, working on a difficult project, facing a personal challenge. Anytime you feel like giving up, remember that you have more in the tank, much more. You have to be willing to go to a dark place to find it. You have to be willing to suffer. But on the other side of that suffering is a stronger, more resilient version of yourself, a version you never knew existed. It's about systematically exposing yourself to discomfort, pushing your boundaries a little further each time. This is how you build mental toughness. This is how you callous your mind. You don't become resilient by avoiding hardship. You become resilient by facing it head on, by learning to operate effectively even when you're uncomfortable. The 40% rule is a reminder that your perceived limits are often self-imposed and that you have the power to shatter them. You just have to be willing to dig deep, real deep. Section 8. Building the indomitable mind, the armor of habit. Transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's not about one heroic effort. It's about the small, consistent actions you take every single day. It's about building habits, good habits, habits that move you closer to your goals. My journey from an overweight, depressed kid to a Navy SEAL and ultramarathon runner wasn't an accident. It was the result of relentless discipline and the deliberate cultivation of powerful habits. These habits became my armor. They protected me from my old self. I started with simple things, waking up early, making my bed, working out, even when I didn't feel like it. These small victories built momentum. They proved to me that I could control my actions, that I wasn't just a victim of my circumstances or my feelings. Each habit was a brick, and with enough bricks, I built a fortress in my mind, a place where negativity and self-doubt couldn't easily penetrate. This is what I mean by callousing your mind. It's about making it tough, resilient, unbreakable. Your mind is like a muscle. The more you challenge it, the stronger it gets. If you constantly seek comfort, your mind will become soft, weak. But if you consistently push yourself, if you embrace discomfort, if you do the things you don't want to do, your mind will adapt. It will become harder, more capable. Habits are the way you train your mind. They are the reps, the sets, the daily grind that forges an indomitable will. It's not glamorous. It's often tedious, but it's essential. Think about your daily routines. What are your habits? Are they serving you, or are they holding you back? Be honest with yourself. Identify the habits that are detrimental, the ones that keep you stuck. And then, one by one, replace them with habits that empower you. It won't be easy. You'll stumble, you'll fall, but you have to get back up. Every time. Consistency is the key. Over time, these positive habits will become ingrained. They will become a part of who you are, and they will lead you to a place you never thought possible. Section 9. Your story is unwritten. The future is yours. My past was filled with pain, abuse, failure, self-loathing. For a long time, I let that past define me. I believed I was destined to be a victim, a loser, but I was wrong. Your past does not have to be your prison. It can be your fuel. It can be the source of your greatest strength, if you choose to see it that way. The scars you carry are proof that you survived. They are reminders of the battles you've fought and the lessons you've learned. Don't hide them. Don't be ashamed of them. Use them. No one is defined by what happened to them. We are defined by how we respond, by the choices we make, by the actions we take. Every single day, you have an opportunity to write a new page in your story. You can choose to stay stuck in the past, or you can choose to build a new future, a future based on discipline, on resilience, on self-belief. The power is in your hands. It always has been. You just have to be willing to grab it, to fight for it. The habits you cultivate today will shape the person you become tomorrow. Not your history, not your trauma, not what other people say about you. Your habits, your daily choices, your commitment to growth. That's what matters. Stop waiting for a perfect moment. Stop waiting for motivation. Motivation is crap. It comes and goes. Discipline is what carries you through. The discipline to do what needs to be done, even when you don't want to, especially when you don't want to. So, look in your own mirror. Who do you see, and who do you want to become? The journey will be hard. It will be painful. There will be days you want to quit, but don't you dare give up. Embrace the suck. Do the work. Build the habits. Callous your mind. Your potential is limitless. Your past is just a story. You are the author of your life. Start writing the chapter you want to live. Right now, today.